people popping in is I looked at the test, and I'm able to do a report that gives me statistics, and I looked at the top 5 missed questions. And so hopefully if you choose to do corrections on your Part 1 test, and you'll find instructions for that in the pre-calc course announcements, hopefully this recording will help you go back and make those corrections if you happen to have missed one of the top 5 missed problems. And believe it or not, the top 5 missed problems were almost all the same concept. That is crazy. So now I know where everybody was struggling. It's with that partial sum formula. And you know what? It's not the formula that I think people are getting stumped on. It's all the steps leading up to the formula. So what I'm going to do, and remember, because of our lags, I know Sydney's got a big lag going right now. Because of our lags, as I write, I'm not talking while I'm writing. So I'm going to write the formula up on the board right quick. Okay, so I wrote the formula up there, and if you see, there's a lot of information we need to be able to collect everything for that formula. So we need to know what n is, and we can get that from the word problem itself. We need to know what a sub 1 is, and I built my little table over to the right, and we're fixing to find that out. I'm going to have to know what my difference is. Okay, well, first let me say we need to know what a sub n is. So let me write out a sub n right quick. And like I said, I'm not going to talk while I do that. Okay, so this is everything we need to know in order to use that partial sum formula. We need to know what n is, we need to know a sub 1, we need to know a sub n, and a sub n has its own equation that we've got to fill in things for. So we've got a sub 1 plus d, and d is our difference, or the change that's happening in our series, and then that's going to be multiplied by the difference of n and 1. All right, so let's get started here. Finally, we're going to read the problem and see what's going on. I'm just going to underline the important parts. It says, if you save 2 pennies on January 1st, so that's some important stuff right there. 2 pennies, January 1st. So that tells me my first term is going to be 2. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write that over here. So my first term is going to be 2. And then on January 2nd, I'm saving 4 pennies. Then on January 3rd, I'm saving 6. And it says I'm going to continue this pattern for 1 year. And it's not a leap year. And that 1 year gives me some important information. What will be the value of your entire savings in dollars at the end of that 1 year? And it says express your answer as a decimal rounded to the nearest hundredth. So that means we're going to put it in terms of money. That's why we're doing it to the nearest hundredth, because we're putting it in terms of money. So help me out here. I'm looking for n. Can anybody tell me what n is going to be? See some more people popping in. Good morning. And remember, I have chat turned off, so feel free to put your answer or your guesstimate in chat. Nobody's going to see it but me. If you look over here in my table, N is January 1st, January 2nd, January 3rd. So basically, it's the number of days. So this is the first day, the second day, the third day. Right on. That is the perfect answer, Chloe. That's what I'm looking for. So what Chloe recognized is in the word problem, it says that you're going to continue this problem for 1 year. We always say there's 365 days in 1 year. And Cassidy Lee, I think I know where you're going with your answer, and I'm going to ask it in just a second, if we're on the same page. So for 1 year, we always say there's 365 days, except when it's a leap year. And it tells us it's not a leap year. So my N is going to be 365. And for those that are just popping in, what we're doing is we're figuring out all the information we need in order to complete the partial sum formula. We know we need to know the value of N, we need to know what A sub 1 is, and we need to know what A sub N is. And when we're finding A sub N, we also need to know what D is, our difference, our change that's occurring in the series. Okay, so we know that N is 365 days. What is A sub 1? And remember, what they're asking with that sub 1 is, what is the first term? Exactly. My first term is going to be 2. And we got that by looking at our little table. This is our first term in A sub 1. That's our first term, our first N. And that matches up with the value of 2. So that's what A sub 1 is 2. Now, the next thing we have to look for is our change in our series, which is D. So you're going to come over here and you're going to look at your series, the A sub N's, and determine what the difference is. And here, you're just going to go like this, and by this time we know that everything's going to keep increasing by 2. So by the 4th day, you're saving 8 pennies. So that's absolutely correct. Your D, you're changing your series, is going to be 2. So if we look here, I have all the information I need to either find A sub N, and then later I know what my N value is, so I can do my partial sum formula. But right now, I need to find A sub N. So let's fill this out. A sub 1, we figured that out, is 2, plus our D difference, which is 2. I'm not going to plug in that N value right now because I don't need it yet. I need to figure out what A sub N is before I start using 365. So all you do now, you just do the math. And then we see that we've got a positive 2 and a negative 2, so those are going to cancel each other out. So A sub N my N's aren't very well made. They look like they're the same size. So A sub N is going to equal 2N. All right, so finally, I have all the information I need to do that partial sum formula. I'm going to need that N value, I need A1, and I need A sub N. That's what I need to use in my formula. So let me go back to my, you know what, let me use a different colored ink. So that way we don't get that A sub N and all that stuff confused with my partial sum formula. So on the, I got S, And then my sub n is going to be 365. Sorry guys, it's hard to write really little. And I'm going to continue replacing my n's with that 365. My a sub 1 is going to be 2 plus, and then my a sub n is 2n. But now remember, I've got this n. I'm going to go ahead and substitute that with 365. I'm going to go ahead and bring that 365 down. I'm looking at my cheat sheet so that way I don't have to grab my calculator and start adding. Keying all this in. Now I put parentheses around that because this is exactly how I entered it in my calculator when I finally got to that point. Okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and put in the answer for 2 plus the product of 2 and 365. And that was 732. Alright, so the way you see that right there, 365 divided by 2, multiplied by 732, everything's in parentheses. It's exactly how I entered it in my calculator, and this is the answer I got. Now remember, it told us in the instructions to express your answer as a decimal rounded to the nearest hundredth. So when I key all that in my calculator, I get $1,335. That's a decimal right there, 90 cents. And I can put my dollar sign up there. Okay, so this right here, the partial sum formula, the top 5 missed problems on the Part 1 test, 3 of them were partial sum formula. Okay, and I do have a couple of more examples of that, but to make sure we have wise use of our time, I'm going to talk to you about the next concept that was missed, and then we'll go back and work some more partial sums. Oh wait, before I go in, give me a green check if you're understanding this, a red X if you're not, and no one else is going to see your response. I got 4 green checks. I got 10 people in here, so I got 6 people. I got 5. Come on, I need 5 more. I need red X or a green check, because what this tells me if you're focused on small group or not. And if you're not being focused on small group and you're just here so it'll show that you've attended, that's bad news. I need some participation. I might give Sydney a break because she's got some serious lag going on. Matter of fact, I'm going to turn off my mic for a second. Alright, that helped. It got rid of her lag. Okay, I did get 6 responses, and I see the majority of you are understanding. And if you just popped in here, then I'm going to highly suggest you watch the recording because there was a lot of good information here. Okay, let's look at the next question that was most missed that wasn't partial sum. In this, there was a lot less choices. It just depended on which question you got. But which of the following statements are true regarding functions? Now guys, y'all got to know functions. Pre-cal and trig is all about functions. So you need to know about functions. And I highly suggest that you go back and read through the lessons in Unit 1 and just absorb everything you can find out about a function. This one says, which of the following statements are true regarding functions? And it says, a sequence is a function whose domain is the set of real numbers. Is that true about a function? Give me, wait, here, let me clear out my polling. Give me a green check if a sequence is a function whose domain is a set of real numbers. All right, I got 7 responses this time. All right. Okay, and that is true. Okay? And I think what threw people off on this one is because all of a sudden we were talking about a sequence. What are they talking about? But if you go back and you read when we studied sequences, it did say that a sequence is a function whose domain is a set of all real numbers. And remember, your domain is your x values, okay? And it has to be a real number because that's where we're building our little, that's our domain right there. So that's a big truth. Okay, let me clear out. And thank you, those 7 people who are responding. I so appreciate that. That tells me a lot about the understanding. Okay, on this next one it says, which of the following statements are true regarding functions? And it says, the horizontal line test, right here, the horizontal line test may be used to determine whether a function is one-to-one. Is that true? Green check, false, red X. Okay, I got 8 responses now. Now, let me remind you that when we're talking about the one-to-one, they also use the term many-to-one. So if I had a parabola and I drew a horizontal line through it, that horizontal line contains 2 x values. So that means it's many to 1. Now here's another one. That's a weird line, but we do have them. It's a cube. It's a cube function. I draw a horizontal line here. It only passes through 1 x value, so that means it's 1-to-1. So that's true. The horizontal line test can be used to determine whether a function is 1-to-1. Good job. Okay, a function is a relation in which multiple values of the input variable are paired with at least one of the output variable. They should have made that plural. I got 2 responses. And you know what? I probably should have put A, B, and C up here. A for true, B for false, and C for I'm clueless. Because when it comes to talking about your inputs and your outputs, it does get confusing. Okay, and what they're saying here, this would be like, I got x's and my y's. It says a function is a relation in which multiple values of my input, which is x, so let's say I have 1, 2, 3, 4. And they are all paired with at least one of the output variable, which means they're all going to be paired with the number 10. And I just made up those numbers. So if you were mapping, it would look like this. Okay, I think that helped a little bit because I got 6 responses now. I'm going to go ahead and let you know that's false. You can't, that will not be a function. If you've got all of those inputs just paired with that one variable, that one output, it's going to be false. And as a matter of fact, let me see, that's a horizontal line. If I drew that, there's my x-axis and my y-axis. Let's say this is my positive 10 up here. If that's going to be a horizontal line. And you know what? Yeah, it means y equals 0. There's, what do we say? No solution. It's not that it's undefined. It has to be vertical to be undefined. But there is no slope, so that's what makes it not a function. Okay, let's look at the fourth one here. A sequence is a function whose domain is the set of rational numbers. Well, you know what? I'm not even going to give you a chance to respond to that because we've already answered what a sequence is. It's all real numbers, not rational numbers. So that one's going to be false as well. Let me get my pen. I'm going to write big false on here. That is false. This one is false. Let's look at the fifth one here. It says, the vertical line test may be used to determine whether a relation is a function. Green check for true, red X for false. The vertical line test may be used to determine whether a relation is a function. Ooh, I got 7 yeses, and you know what? You're correct. Look at this many to one graph over here I drew. I'm drawing a vertical line. No matter where I draw it, it's only crossing one time. If I look at my 1 to 1, yep, that's a function too, as well. No matter where I draw my line. Even over here, I know we said this wasn't a function, but because there's no solution since there's no slope. But then sometimes you might see a graph that looks like this. That is not a function because my vertical line is crossing it in more than one place. So that one is going to be true. It is a function. I think I've got one more on here. Yes, I do. A function is a relation in which each value of the input variable is paired with at least one value of the output variable. And we've kind of already given this answer away because we said this one was false. I don't know if y'all entered in that check marks. Anyway, if you'd already entered it in, re-enter your answer. A function is a relation in which each value of the input variable is paired with at least one value of the output variable. They're not all going to the same place. And if you look, I know there's a lot of lines over here, but if you look at the many to one and the one to one, and you think about your x variables, I need to put, because my next small group's about to start, I need to say that I'm away so they know I'm not just sitting in there. Okay, I got 4 yeses on that one. Five yeses. But we're going to go ahead and say it's true because, like I said, we have kind of already answered it. And since we've kind of already answered it as well, we can know that these last two are also false. On this question, this was all the choices that were given. Now, there's a pool of 3 questions, And these were the answer choices in each question. Okay? Now, if you go in and you do corrections, y'all see how I made notes over to the side? I gave examples of why the correct answers were correct, and I tried to give examples of why the false answers were false. And that's what you would need to show me in your corrections. And we've got about 4 minutes, and so these next two examples were just like the partial sum with the pennies. Okay? That's all we were doing, was going in and using that partial sum formula. Just like this. Just remember, whenever you're doing partial sum, you're always going to use the formula, this right here. And in order to complete the formula, you're going to need to know what n is, you're going to need to know a sub 1, and you're going to need to know a sub n, and you're going to need to know d, the difference, the change that's happening. And usually you're going to find all of that. They're going to give you a word problem like saving pennies, or they're going to tell you find the sum of the first 50 positive integers. And in this one, they said find the sum of the first 335 in the sequence. Okay? So, y'all hopefully you're going to work on making corrections. And if you got any questions, let me know. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and get ready to go to my next small group. And y'all are free to leave. If you've got any questions, please email me. Or use Skype.